Good morning. Happy Monday. Hope you had a wonderful weekend. This morning, I want to tackle a topic that actually came up in a couple of calls that I had last week with different folks who reached out to me to network online. So listen, if one person had the question, maybe some of you do as well, and that was about the effectiveness of networking online versus networking in person. And I want to do something a little different this morning. So instead of just giving you 3 tips of, hey, here's what you should do, I want to illustrate these through 2 stories, and then I'll get to the 3 things that people get wrong about networking online versus in person. But let me give you the first story. So last week, I spoke at an event virtually online, and I showed this slide to people. And this slide got a lot of response. I talked about what we're launching in 2023 and invited people to text to find out more about what was going on. And I simply explained to them, we're going to change the game in your career in 2023. You want to find out more? Reach out to me. And so many people reached out on LinkedIn messages and said, hey, I want to find out more, or hey, I'd love to connect. And the messages were so encouraging and so awesome. And those messages turned into phone calls. I love booking Zoom calls with people, and immediately those calls were phenomenal. Just immediate connection, loved hearing their stories, loved learning more about them. And all of that came from me speaking virtually and people reaching out through a LinkedIn message to say, hey, would love to learn more. So I'll come back to LinkedIn messages or even social media messages in just a moment. Let me tell you story number 2, which is a very powerful story, and that is, I want to tell you about my friend Larry. Larry Schneider was a force to be reckoned with. We are in an online group, an entrepreneurs group who started in 2021. So, we were constantly on group chats on Facebook or Zoom calls a couple of times a week in this entrepreneurs group, all of us seeking to learn how to grow our businesses. And, I'd say hello to Larry as he said hello to everybody in the chat when you're on Zoom. And, we'd say hello and we'd banter back and forth. And one day he said, hey, let's do a Zoom call. I'd love to find out more about what you're up to and tell you what I'm doing. I was like, awesome. And I think that was August of 2021. Well, I quickly learned Larry is a hoot. He's a character. We had so much fun on that Zoom call that literally, I became an instant member of Larry's fan club for sure. But it wasn't the Zoom call. It was what happened thereafter, because then came the messages. Starting probably in September of 2021, every single day I'd wake up to a message from Larry. Have a great day, he'd say. Good morning, rock star. Knock 'em dead today was another common message and refrain. And every day, 7 days a week, I'd wake up to a message from Larry, a message of encouragement. Have a great day. Him asking for nothing in return, only offering encouragement. And I tried to beat Larry a couple of times to those messages. I tried to wake up early and send the message before you did. But his messages were always there first. And they made such an amazing difference in my day. Well, those messages started in September 2021, and they continued for months, 7 days a week until March 11th of this year. March 11, 2022 was the first day in months I didn't get a message from Larry. March 12th, I didn't get a message from Larry. March 13th, I didn't get a message from Larry. His wife then posted on Facebook that Larry had passed away suddenly of a heart attack. I was absolutely devastated and remain absolutely I miss someone I've never met in person. All of this happened over Facebook Messenger, Zoom calls, Zoom chats, and just online networking. Is it possible to have that kind of connection with someone you've never met in person, only in networking groups or in a Zoom call? You bet it is. And Larry was an amazing example of that, because I came to learn after his passing, there were several of us in the Good Morning group and the Rockstar group that he sent messages to, but the power of the connection that Larry established was phenomenal. So why do I share the story of people that I talked to last week, and then I share the story about Larry? Well, I share those stories for 2 reasons. because they both illustrate the three things that people get wrong about online networking. The first, people tell me, again, last week I heard, well, you can't establish a connection through online networking. You absolutely can. So if you have this notion that networking online is not the way you want to go, or is not as effective as in-person networking, please dispel that myth and that notion. Because I just gave you two examples of not only people I've never met last week that I had Zoom calls with, but also the story of Larry, where I would tell you that connection over Zoom calls and chats for someone I'd never met was as powerful, if not more so, than people I meet all the time. So what people get wrong about online networking, whether that's a Facebook Messenger message or LinkedIn message, is the connection is there if you want it to be there. And if you focus on truly getting to know that person, then networking online is as effective as in person. Number two, what people get wrong about online networking versus in person is just that it's not effective. And that was exactly the premise of the person who asked me the question last week. They just said, well, it's not effective, so I don't want to do it. And they already had their mind made up versus saying, how can I network online better? How can I reach out to people on different platforms? What are best practices? They immediately had it in their mind. Well, it's just not effective. And that person also didn't want to do it in person. So they kind of put themselves in a box about how to establish relationships and networking and keep growing that network because they told themselves it was not effective. And nothing can be further from the truth. People I've met over the last 2 years on Zoom calls and LinkedIn messages, Facebook messages, I've established fast friendships with and great relationships with. So it can be as effective as the effort you put into it. Number three, what do people get wrong about online networking versus in person? You treat it as a transaction. You see it as, I just have to send this message. I just need to get this out the door. I just need to get this off my plate. You're not seeking a relationship. You're seeking a transaction. And listen, this is true for whether it's in person or whether it is online. Because, listen, the pandemic didn't change this. All of us have kind of had these tendencies even before the pandemic, which is you tend to treat these kind of things, networking events or online, as I just have to do it. And it becomes very stressful. It becomes very taxing. And yeah, it becomes very transactional for you as something you just need to check the box on versus actually seeking to establish a relationship. And so when you come into networking, you treat it as very transactional, then transactional is what you're going to get back. It's not going to have a connection. It's not going to be effective. And you're not going to develop the relationship, which are the three things that you need to focus on, whether it's online networking or in person. So understand, guys, Zoom calls are here to stay. LinkedIn messages, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Oh my God, I got the best Twitter message from somebody last week. And I was like, I had no idea who the person was, but we immediately started chatting back and forth, and it was a pretty cool Twitter exchange. So understand that the online networking world is here to stay, and how you seek to leverage it is up to you. I love Zoom calls. I love my Facebook Messenger. I love my LinkedIn messages. But you have to come into this with an open mind that if you can't do the in-person networking, what is another effective way to network? Don't just shut down and not network at all. Use the means you have available to you to network. And listen, introverts, because I have some introverts in my program and I'm constantly telling them or asking them how to make networking better for them. Is it online? Maybe. Is it a Zoom call? Is that a safer place for them? Is it the LinkedIn message? Maybe that's a safer way to interact with them that gets to the same goal of meeting people, but yet also helps them with their safety of reaching out to people when they're not comfortable. So this morning's message is very simple. Don't discount the power of online networking, whether that is a social platform, whether that is Zoom, whatever means that may be. Networking does not have to just be in person. If you take nothing away from this morning's video other than those two stories, then take away this thought. It is the power of human connection, even in this remote era. We all think we're remote, we're hybrid. Some of you are back in the office, or maybe you're back to work. But we've discounted the notion that we couldn't have genuine human connection in this online networking age that we're in. And nothing can be further from the truth. So I ask you to open your mind, open your thoughts, look at online networking in a totally different way this week. Reach out to me on LinkedIn if you haven't before. I'd love to have a conversation about this and how to get you more comfortable with online networking. But at the end of the day, guys, the strength of your relationships and your network is what's going to be key to your success. So don't discount online networking as a means of being effective. All right, how's that for a simple Monday morning message? But I probably went on way too long. So let's see who's joining me this morning. Okay, I'm gonna totally call out my friend here, Ramona. We have not met in person yet. Ramona, you're a great example of what I'm talking about this morning. We've not met in person yet. We've done a Zoom call. You are amazing about joining my live videos. And yeah, Larry's impact about caring for people. And there's some people who are chiming in this morning who knew Larry as well. So anxious to get to their comments. But Ramona, I look forward to meeting you in person. I know we've not done that yet. And I know that is on our to-do list. But I love that we've talked by Zoom and we've had these interactions over lives and Facebook and LinkedIn, and love that. I look forward to, I think you're a great example, Ramona, of a relationship I've established for somebody I haven't met yet. So I love that you're here. I love that you're here this morning. Hey, good morning, Judy. Loved your story about Larry. He was a wonderful person. I agree. If you want to be effective, it will have a great absolutely. You have a great relationship with your clients if you met online. Absolutely. It's amazing the people that we've met over the past couple of years online, that we do have those clients and otherwise that we have those great relationships with. And yes, Larry was an amazing person. And Chris Prouty, you were part of the Rockstar group in the mornings. So I'm glad you were here this morning to hear this story. I know you and I have talked about Larry even since his passing and the impact he had on us. So I'm glad that you're here this morning. And Chris says what you love about online networking, let me bring that back up, is that you can connect with people from all over the world. Absolutely. And it does open up a completely different world, and it's much more efficient than traditional methods. You're exactly right. You can expand your network in ways you never could before because it is more effective and it does allow you to meet more people. So Chris, that's a great point. And I love that you're kind of expanding that, hey, guys, there's a lot of ways to make this networking online work for you. Oh, great. Chris Rivera says it's allowed him and other people he know, same thing, connect with people from across the world. You've learned more about other cultures than you did during school because you're able to speak with people directly. Absolutely. And so this idea of expanding your network online and thinking it's not effective is just a myth that people need to dispel. And I love that Chris Prouty and Chris Rivera are both hitting on that. Oh, Ramona says, yes, you and I, absolutely. Genuine connection from one online meeting, and I can't wait to see you in person. I know we're going to solve the world's problems as soon as we get together. Chris says it's important to make sure you're not wasting time whether you're okay, that's a fair point, whether you're interacting with people in person or online. You don't want to waste the time. Time is an essential asset, so you want to make sure that every interaction is meaningful. I'm so business. Chris, actually, it's your business, yes, but that's not wrong. What I read into that message, Chris, I'm going to bring it back up for people, is be intentional about how you're using someone's time. If it is transactional, kind of going back to point number 3 of what people get wrong about online networking, if you treat it as a transaction, yeah, you're wasting somebody's time. Be intentional about the time that you're booking with someone. Be intentional about whether that's that LinkedIn message. Reach out thoughtfully. Be intentional about how you reach out. Because a Zoom call, likewise. And let me just say one thing, because I think Chris and Ramona, Chris and Judy have all hit on this. It is that intentionality point, but it's also, guys, turn your phones off when you're networking with someone else. If you're on a Zoom call, give them your full attention and be intentional about being present in that moment. That is where that human connection, that is why is it effective. That is why it becomes relational, not just transactional, because you're intentional about how you're entering into that engagement. So whether it is the LinkedIn message, whether it is the Twitter message that I got from out of the blue last week, or whether it's an online Zoom meeting, hey, maybe you meet somebody in person and then you decide to continue the conversation online afterwards. Whatever it may be intentional about the time you're spending and investing and getting to know someone else, but to also, to Chris's point, be respectful of their time as well. Intentionality always underlies everything we talk about here, and intentionality is key. So I appreciate everybody being here this morning. Thank you for these comments. Guys, this week you have one task. Be more intentional about your online networking and your networking in general, and dispel those 3 myths, get them out of your head, and know that online networking is as impactful as in-person networking. So take that, think about that this week. Reach out to me. I'd love to have more conversations. Hey, Lauren, good morning. Lauren is back from Italy. If you guys have not seen Lauren's post, she had an amazing retreat in Italy. So, Lauren, welcome back. You may have been back for a while, but it's good to see you here this morning. So, I leave everybody with these thoughts this morning. Have a wonderful, wonderful day, and I'll see you back here very soon. Have a great week, everybody.
You've been hiding in the shadows way too long. You always thought that you were weak, but babe, you're wrong. Yeah, you better step into the light, just give it a try. Think that it's time you let that spark out. You've been hiding in the shadows.